All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into the epic Ramayana to really dig into the true identity of one of its most famous groups, the legendary Vanaras. You know the image, right? For as long as we can remember, pop culture, from comic books to TV series, has shown us this powerful army of monkeys, with the incredible Hanuman leading the charge. Yeah, that's the picture we all have in our heads. It's practically baked into our understanding of the story. But what if I told you the original epic, the Valmiki Ramayana, describes them as something completely different, something far more human? Okay, so let's really get into it. To figure this out, we have to go right back to the source. Let's see what the poet Valmiki actually wrote and try to separate his actual words from the myths that have built up over centuries. So, here's the first big surprise. We're all used to thinking of them as a species of super smart monkeys, but the original text, it uses a very specific phrase, Wanakacharna, and what that actually means is people who roam the forests. See the difference? It's about a lifestyle, a culture, not biology. And if we dig even deeper, the root of the word Wanamrati just means one who lives off the forest. That's it. Originally, it was just a term for human tribes with a certain lifestyle. It was only way, way later that the meaning got kind of twisted and narrowed down to only mean monkey. And that right there is probably where all the confusion started. Okay, so that brings up a pretty obvious question, right? If they were human tribes, then why do we always see them with tails and fur and monkey faces? Well, the answer comes down to a simple idea: the difference between who you are and what you wear. Let's try a little thought experiment from our own time to make this super clear. Picture a CEO, or maybe an investment banker. They're in their uniform, right? Black suit, white shirt. From a distance, you could kind of say they look a bit like a penguin. But obviously that doesn't make them penguins. They're just people in a specific outfit. And the Ramayana tells us the Vanaras did pretty much the same thing. They were humans, but as part of their tribal identity, they wore a costume. A costume that included, you guessed it, a tail and a monkey-like headdress. And if you need more proof, Valmiki makes it crystal clear they weren't some separate race. He actually traces their family tree right back to the same ancestors as the people living in the cities. We're talking revered sages, celestial beings, the whole shebang. They all came from the same stock. All right, so there is another thing that the modern stories get kind of wrong. They always focus on how strong the Vanaras were, right? All muscle. But they usually forget to mention something Valmiki thought was super important: their incredible intelligence. Let's actually look at a specific verse from the original Sanskrit. Now, these words, they paint a really powerful picture, and they tell us a lot about who the Vanaras truly were. So, what does this actually mean? Well, when you translate it, it's pretty mind-blowing. It describes the Vanaras as experts in politics and strategy, blessed with brilliant minds, and so powerful they were considered equal to the god Vishnu himself. I mean, come on, that is not how you describe a bunch of animals. That's a description of a seriously advanced civilization. And here's another myth we can just throw right out the window: the idea that the Vanaras were only found in South India. Nope. Valmiki straight up says that these powerful forest-dwelling tribes were spread all over the planet. In every mountain range, in every forest. They were a global phenomenon. Now, you might be thinking, okay, this is an interesting theory, but it's more than that. This isn't some new age reinterpretation. This understanding is actually backed up by cold, hard historical evidence, if you just know where to look. Just look at the difference here. On one hand, you have modern comics and TV shows where they're always portrayed as monkeys. But then, look at the ancient temple sculptures. We're talking about places like Ellora and Angkor Wat. The artists who carved these thousands of years ago, they depicted the Vanaras as humans. Human bodies, human size, human proportions. And the real kicker? You can clearly see they're wearing masks and attached tails. It's a costume. So let's just recap what we found here. When you go back to the original text, the picture is incredibly clear and consistent. The Vanaras were sophisticated human tribes. They lived in the forest, yes, but they wore a distinct tribal costume. They shared the same ancestry as everyone else, and they were celebrated for being absolute masters of strategy. And that really leaves us with one big final thought. Now that we know the Vanaras were these incredibly intelligent human tribes, how does that change the way you see Hanuman? Think about it. He's not just a monkey god. He's the brilliant, devoted leader of a powerful human nation. And somehow that makes his wisdom, his loyalty, and everything he accomplished feel even more profound, doesn't it?